Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about the biological classification. First of all, what do you mean by classification? In biology, it is the establishment of hierarchical system of categories on the basis of presumed natural relationship among organisms. In a more simpler language, classification means making the groups or subgroup of the organism according to their characteristics and to understand them more clearly and to identify them, making the resemblance of the characteristics in the organism and making the arrangement of them into a proper systematic hierarchical system, that is a classification. And the science of biological classification is commonly called as taxonomy. Now the question arises, why do we need to classify the organisms? First of all, there are variety of organisms present around us. So this biodiversity, if we want to learn about, we need to understand the organism according to their characteristics or groups. It is not convenient that we can place all of them together in one group and make the study. So classification help us to make the groups according to their similar features or maybe differences, and because of that it make little easy for us to understand and study about the organism. Then their the classification is the greatest tool to deal with the biodiversity. It also helps us to understand the relationship among the organisms. For an example, how plants and animals are interrelated to each other. If we want to study, we need to understand the characteristic of their survival, and so depending on that we can easily relate and find out the interrelationship among these. So this is how classification helps. Apart from this, classification also help us to understand the evolution. If we will learn all the classification system, no matter of what topic you are learning, whether it is a plant, animal, fungi, monera or anything else, it depends upon the evolution pattern. The first group will always be the simpler one and the last one in the classification will always be the complex one. So in between that, the changes what organism is facing and how the differences of the groups are creating, this help us to understand that how the life came into existence. As we know already that life came into existence from the one single cell, but today there is a multicellular complex structure like humans. So how it is possible, how did it happen? To answer this question we need to understand evolution, and evolution shows its presence, its characteristic through the classification. It classification make it more simpler and easy to understand, interrelate and find out how the differences were coming into existence and how the species or the groups kept on getting changed, and now they have made their own different characteristics and groups. There are basically three systems of classification previously. One was artificial, then natural, and then phylogenetic. Artificial system is based on one of few characters which are not related to phylogenetic significance, that is their genetic and evolutionary relationship. Then it was first proposed by Theoparistus and afterwards it was supported by Carolus Linnaeus. Natural system is based on overall character of the organism which indicate the natural relationship of organisms. It was first proposed by Bentham and Hooker, and afterward the classification got more importance due to the study of angiospermic plants. Talking about phylogenetic system of classification, it is totally based on evolutionary and generic relationship of organisms, and it is more scientific method to classify the organism. It was first proposed by Engler and Prandtl, and Itzo is known as the pioneer of phylogenetic system. Talking about the history of classification, so the scientists who study the classification or taxonomy are known as taxonomists. Aristotle was the first one to make the attempt to classify the organism. He made the very simple attempt. He classified the living organism in two groups, plants and animals. Later on, he subdivided them into different categories, like plants were divided in three subgroups: trees, shrubs and herbs based on their height. Then animals were divided on the presence of red blood cell or the absence of red blood cells. So this is how he classified the plants and animals. Now we already know the more advanced characteristics of plants and animals, so we understand it very clearly that this method of classification was not at all appropriate, because there were many characters which were not matching in the group. So later on, different scientists worked to classify these organisms. The first scientist who made a very good attempt to classify the organism was Carolus Linnaeus or Carl Linnaeus. About 2000 years after the Aristotle's classification, this particular scientist have gave his own classification. Okay, and if you see here in the slide that there is a hierarchy system given on the side of the paragraph, that is life, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species. This is a hierarchical system or a pattern in which the organism is classified. So all of the organisms fall in the life, then domain is the same for all. Now there are three domain system. So basically there will be archaea, eukarya. Okay, so this is how it works. Then kingdom, phylum is for animals, division stands for the plants. So phylum and division are the same, they are at the same rank. Okay, so this is how class, order, family, genus, species, and later on they are subdivided. Fine. So this is how the hierarchical pattern was introduced by Carolus Linnaeus, and that's why he is also known as father of taxonomy. This was one of the most advanced and systematic method of classification, and that's why the more acceptance to this was like taken into consideration at that time, and he got lot of credit for it. In between this, there were number of people who actually gave number of type of classifications, like two kingdoms system, three kingdom system, which we are going to study. So this is how two kingdoms, three kingdoms and two empire, four kingdom, five kingdoms, six kingdoms, three domains and six kingdom classifications were came into existence, out of which the five kingdom classification is one of the most famous and accepted classification which you have to learn, while three domain system is the latest one which are getting you know everyone is using that in a more proper manner. Apart from these, all other kingdoms have their own specific contribution towards the classification systems. Talking about two kingdoms, it was simple, divided to plants and animals. Vegetabilia stands for plants and Animalia stands for animals. Similarly, in three kingdoms classification, the Protista group was introduced, which was consisting of all the you know basic all the organisms which are including microorganisms, and they are unicellular and multicellular both. Then prokaryote, eukaryote were the classification based on the cell, what type of cell the organism is having. So all those who are having unicellular prokaryotic cell were in prokaryota, all those who are having unicellular and multicellular eukaryotic cells were in eukaryota. But again, this was not very systematic. Then Copeland actually divided it to four groups, and the four kingdoms consist of Mycota, Protista, Plantae and Animalia. Later on in five kingdom classification, the fungi group was introduced. In six kingdom classification, the Monera has been subdivided into two, Eubacteria and Archaebacteria. In three domain system, bacteria, Archaebacteria and Eukarya. This is how the three domains are there, in which bacteria and Archaebacteria falls in Prokarya. And Cavalier-Smith gave at the last six kingdom classification, which you can see. Now you have to keep in mind that classification systems keep on getting updated. So it may happen that till the time you are watching this video, or maybe when you will see in future, or you will study in the future the biology subject, the classification system may get changed. So that's totally getting updated because of the new researches and new advancement in the technology, then to understand the different characteristics, then resemblance of the characteristic. Because of that, there are number of changes which keep on happening in these classification systems. So you have to be very flexible to learn about the classification. Now, what are the different characteristics on which the classification is based? So first of all, I already told you that domain were having two groups, prokarya and eukarya. Bacteria and archaebacteria both falls in prokarya. Then kingdom, bacteria is eubacteria, archaebacteria. Then eukarya is having four kingdoms, protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. In five kingdom classification, eubacteria and archaebacteria falls within the same kingdom, that is Monera. So this is how Monera, protista, fungi, plantae and animalia were divided. Then on the basis of cell type also there is a division. Eubacteria and archaebacteria are prokaryotic, rest are eukaryotic in nature. Just for your revision, I am giving you an update about the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are primitive cell which lack the nucleus cell wall, and they do not have multiple cellular organelles. Talking about eukaryotes, they are having well developed structure of cell, including the well developed nucleus with the wall, and there are number of cell organelles present in the cell. So this is how, based on the cell structure, number of cell, mode of nutrition, these are the different key characteristics on which the classification is based. Now there is one of the group which do not fall in the biological classification at all, but it is mentioned in number of the books. So just for your information, I am telling about this. See, viruses are not at all living organism, but they cannot be said as non-living also. So they are on the edge of being living and non-living. So because of that, it was difficult to tell viruses or to keep viruses in any particular group, because actually they are not even called as a cell. Like a bacterial cell, we say, generally viruses are not termed as cell. So this is a problem, that viruses are not kept in any of the kingdom or group, they are kept separately. Viruses are having the property that outside the host cell they act as a non-living component, while as soon as they enter in the host, their genetic material get incorporated in the genetic material of host, because of which they reproduce and show the characteristic of being living organism. Viruses do not have their own machinery in the cell, so there is no synthesis of proteins or any of the component which is required for the survival. So that's why viruses require the host cell for their survival. Until they do not get the host, they act as non-living. They do not consist of any of the cellular material which generally the typical cell consists of. They only have a outer cover, okay, which is known as protein coat. Genetic material, that is DNA or RNA, it can be double stranded or single stranded. Then nucleic acid, which is required for the genetic material. Some may have a tail or the fiber like structure to attach and attack the host cell. Some may have the different receptors, okay, so binding proteins. So the receptors on the host cell get binded up by this binding proteins which is present on the envelope of the virus. So this is the basic common things present in the virus which help them to attach themselves with the host cell. As soon as they attach with the host cell, their first function is to incorporate their genetic material into the host cell, because of which the multiplication of the genetic material can take place, and that help the virus to make a number of copies of itself, that is they reproduce through this process. Now talking about viruses, a little history of it, that how the identification was done. So basically viruses have the structure even smaller as compared to bacteria. So till the electron microscope came into existence, the exact structure of virus was not known, but its identification was done before that. Okay, and the identification was done with a very simple experiment, and the credit goes to Ivanovsky. He was the first who termed them as virus, and which means venom or poisonous liquid, and it was first studied or researched on mosaic disease of tobacco, that is tobacco mosaic disease, and the virus is known as tobacco mosaic virus, TMV in short. So what he did was, when he observed that there is some kind of infection happening in the tobacco plant, he took the leaves of the plants which were infected, crushed them and made the solution of it. Then he filtered it through the bacterial filter. As I already mentioned in starting, viruses have the size smaller as compared to bacteria, so they passed through the filter and they were present in the filtrate. Then the scientist took the filtrate and spreaded it on the healthy plant, but to his surprise, the healthy plant also got infected because the filtrate was having the virus present in it. So he concluded that there is something which is even smaller than bacteria and can infect the plants. After his discovery, number of diseases in humans were also identified, and then the research and study was kept on going for viruses. Talking about virions, virion and viruses have differences in their structure. Virions are the infectious agent which have only the genetic material or the genetic part of viruses, while the viruses have protein code, the fibers or maybe binding proteins for the attachment to the host cell. All these things are missing in the virions. So they only have the genetic material which get incorporated and they can infect. Till now there is no disease found in humans, but it has been found that they infect the plants. So basically when the plant is forming the spores or maybe the fertilization process is going in the flower, at that time the viroids get attached or enter in the seed formation process. So definitely they are present in seed, and when the plant grows from that particular seed, it is already infected through the viroids. They are responsible for high damage in the agricultural field, but to the point till today there is no disease found in humans. Talking about lichens, lichen is a symbiotic association, that is a type of positive association in between the algae and fungi, in which both of them provide the food and shelter to each other for the survival. The algae part is known as phycobiont and the fungal part is known as mycobiont. They are autotrophic and heterotrophic. The fungus is heterotrophic one and the algae is autotrophic in nature. Algae prepares the food for fungus, and on the other hand fungus gives the shelter to the algae and also helps in absorbing the minerals and the water. Then this is how the association keep on working in the environment. They are having lot of importance. First of all, they are the indicators of pollution. If there is a lot of pollution in any area, they will not going to grow. Apart from that, the litmus paper is made from lichens. Apart from that, there is one of the type of spices in India which is nothing but a lichen. So this is how they are making a part of very important component. And recently in India there is one of the park which has been established, a botanical garden which is having around 80 species of lichens. So lichen plays a very important role in research study, at the same time in the number of indicators like litmus, then pollution indicating, then making a part of your species, that is your making a part of your spices sorry, that is your food. Okay, so thanks for this, thanks for listening. If you like the video, please share it, and subscribe to our channel. Till then, stay tuned and keep studying.